Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So today morning we come to the concluding part of our discussion on nourishing the creeper of devotion. So till now I have talked about in the first session how when we are practicing bhakti, the metaphor of a gardening creeper is used to describe how by our practice of bhakti we can develop love of God. And for this, we also took the metaphor of a channel of water. So we want the water of our emotions, of our consciousness to move towards Krishna. And while doing that, if the water starts flowing in other directions, then it will not move towards Krishna. So I talked in the first session how we might just be religious but not spiritual. When we do the activities of bhakti, it's like building the channel, but we don't direct our heart towards Krishna. We don't offer our emotion to Krishna. In the second session, I talked about how while practicing bhakti, we may not sometimes feel inspired to, or we may get more attached to the things that help us to serve Krishna. What will inspire us to make sure that the water of our consciousness, the word artha has different meanings in Sanskrit. Artha can mean meaning. Is what is the artha of this? What is the meaning of this? Artha can also mean value. Like in India, the finance minister is called the Artha Mantri. And artha, uh, so can also mean purpose. For what purpose is this being done? So meaning, purpose, and value. All these are the meanings of the word artha. And purusha artha means that which gives meaning, purpose, and value to life. So what is life meant for? All of us have certain ideas of what I want to achieve in my life. Maybe we want to achieve some financial prosperity, we want a social position, we want a good family, we want various things in life. And these purposes of our life are what drive us. When people sometimes become suicidal, it is not just because they have so many problems in their life. It is rather they have no purpose left in their life because of which they will want to fight the problems. Everybody has problems. In fact, if we set up a lofty goal in our life, somebody decides, I want to become an Olympic gold medalist, then there are so many problems. Okay, you have to qualify at the state level, national level, you have to be fit enough, you have to make the right contacts, you have to perform well enough. And for each of these, there are obstacles. But the purpose is there. I want to do this. So, purpose helps us to overcome obstacles. Problems are always there, but the strength of our purpose pushes through the problems. If a vehicle is moving very slowly, and then if a car say is moving slowly, and then because of a storm a tree has fallen along the way, the car will come and car will stop because of the tree. But there's a big truck and the truck is moving very fast, and if it sees the log, the truck will be moving very fast, and by its momentum just knock over the log, the fallen tree, and move on. So our purpose creates momentum. Once we have purpose, then it gives us a momentum, it gives us a force. So the problems are like the log that has fallen, the tree that has fallen, and the purpose is like the moving vehicle with momentum. The strong, everybody will have problems in their lives, but the problems overwhelm us when we feel my life itself doesn't have any purpose. So if somebody's whole life is centered around their family, and then the family breaks apart, or an accident they lose their family, now what am I living for? If somebody lived, so they wanted to become a software engineer, and then suddenly they lose their job, I don't know, what am I living for? So all of us have certain purposes in our life. And broadly, these purposes, the Bhagavatam and the Vedic scriptures say that is centered on four things: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma is religiosity. Now, if the overall society is pious, then people want to look good in society. Religiosity can, at one sense, mean doing specific religious rituals. You say, who will want to do religious rituals? That's not a purpose of life. Yes, for some, if it's in a society where people are pious, then being religious is respected. In the Bhagavad-gita, In the 16th chapter, Krishna says how even the demoniac people perform religious activities. आत्मसंभाविता स्तब्धा धनमानमदान्वितः यजन्ते नाम यज्ञैस्ते दम्भेना विधिपूर्वकम्. So he says 16.16 and 17 that they perform yajna for what purpose? They don't perform yajna of Naam. They don't chant the holy names. They perform yajna for Naam. They say they do yajna so that they can get name and fame. Oh, what a pious person he is. So respectability is one dharma, which we come through appearing pious, appearing virtuous. That is dharma, one purpose. But the real crux of most materialistic people's lives is the next two purusharthas, artha and kama. People want wealth. And then through that they want to get pleasure. So Srila Prabhupada says if people can get artha and kama without dharma, then they feel what is the need for dharma? Then they just give up the pursuit of dharma and they just are satisfied with artha and kama. So now dharma, artha, kama, and then when there's a lot of desire for enjoyment, one gets enjoyment. After that, there is the desire. I just want to get out of this. Moksha. Moksha at ultimate level means liberation from material existence. At a circumstantial level, sometimes people just have had enough of this. See, there is the conflict in the mind. If I want to live with the I want to live with the enjoyment, but I want to live without the entanglement. So it just doesn't work. Sometimes people say, I just want to quit it. Sometimes in sports, some players maybe at the top level in success, and suddenly they announce retirement. I've had enough. I'm exhausted now. I don't want to go through this grind. As people work in companies, and suddenly they're just enough now. Just want to retire. So moksha ultimately means liberation, but for circumstantially it can also mean for us just freedom from misery, freedom from entanglement. I just don't want to be involved in this. So now in today's world, the tendency for moksha also comes out in the aversion to commitment. People don't want to commit themselves to relationships. They want to live together. Why? Because they don't want an entanglement. We live together, and if it doesn't work out, you go your way, I'll go my way. So no entanglement. So that tendency, basically, karma and moksha are two sides of the same coin. We want to get pleasure and we want to avoid pain. So moksha means freedom from pain. So these are purusha, these are what everybody pursues in life. Religiosity and reputation, wealth and prosperity, pleasure and comfort, and then freedom from entanglement and distress. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha are universal purposes that people have. Now, specifically how they pursue it may vary. Somebody may think I want to become a sports player. Somebody may say I want to become a business magnate. Somebody may say I want to become an attorney. Everybody may have their different ways in which they do it. But this is what people pursue. And it is this purpose that inspires them to work. So when people become suicidal, it is often because their sense of purpose is lost. There's nothing worth living for. There's nothing worth fighting for in life. Then why to go on struggling? Why to go on living? Now, this verse says the Pancham Purushartha, the supreme goal of life is love for Krishna. And as compared to this, everything else is significant. The same theme is talked about in the Bhagavad-gita also. Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin sthito dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. In 6.22, Krishna says, Yam labdhva, if you achieve this, param labham, chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha. Having achieved this, there will be nothing more to achieve. You won't feel that there is any greater gain than this. And yes means sthito. Having been situated like this, then dukkhena gurunapi, even if great distress comes, na vichalyate, one will not be disturbed. So Krishna says that by this, achieving this, the two things he says. One is that you will be satisfied. There will be no more craving for anything else. And there will be no more lamenting about anything else. Oh, this problem has come, that problem has come. Now, we all have certain purposes in our life. we can think, is there any purpose? I have many dreams in my life. Can I say that after fulfillment of that dream, there will be no more hankering and there will be no more lamenting? In fact, this was one of the verses that inspired me most in the Bhagavad-gita. Actually, I was introduced to spiritual life because I was frustrated with success. I was, as an academic student, was reasonably successful. After I gave GRE, I came first in the whole of Maharashtra. I was first in the history of my college. I thought I would be very successful. I was very successful. I thought I'd be very happy. But then I found there is no intrinsic happiness in just looking at the mark sheet. Oh, you got such great marks. You know, it all depends on whether people come and congratulate you. And somehow it happened that one, two, three of my friends, one after another, just forgot to congratulate me. And when they forgot, at that time I started thinking, the third time when it happened, I just became so agitated. And as I was getting into that agitation, suddenly I sort of looked at myself from above and said, hey, wait a minute. You thought this is going to make you happy, but instead of becoming happy, you have become more dependent for your happiness on others. And that time I started thinking, okay, I can set up some other goal, I can use some other exam, I may do well in that also. But is there any goal that can actually make me internally satisfied without dependent on externals? And then I realized all the goals that society had set for me, none of them would bring this inner fulfillment. During the course of our life, generally, for most of us, our life trajectory is set. Okay, a parent set it, our society sets it. Okay, do this, do this, do this, do this. So, and we just pursue that, and we hope that it will lead us to happiness. But will it? So we all have certain purposes for our life. But will any of the purposes that we set for ourselves, will they lead to a situation where we will be free from hankering and free from lamenting? Now, then when I read the Bhagavad-gita, what is the state Krishna is talking about? He's talking about the state of spiritual absorption. Absorption in spiritual reality. Yatra uparamate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyan atmani tushyati sukhamatyantikam yattad buddhi grahayamati indriyam. So Krishna says this is the ultimate happiness. Sukham atyantikam yattad. And this is experience when we become completely absorbed in the spiritual level of reality. So, how do we become ultimately absorbed in spiritual level of reality? There are various levels. Somebody may think that I am Atma. Somebody may think I am Brahman. All these are spiritual levels of realization. But the supremely attractive spiritual reality is the all attractive supreme person Krishna. And we become absorbed in Krishna. That is when we can experience the supreme freedom from hankering and from lamenting. So how do we become absorbed in Krishna? Absorption is a result of attraction. Without attraction, it's very difficult to have absorption. Somebody might be watching, say, in India, cricket is very a mania almost for people. Once I was at an airport and I had come out of the airport and I was going to a taxi stand, and along with the way there was the TV where the cricket match was going on, and then there are people who are watching, and the whole pavement, there was a TV over there, the whole pavement was blocked, and some police had come and said, no, you cannot block this pavement. So they had moved back, but it was like the TV was such an angle that if anybody would walk along that road, people will not be able to see. So at that time I was trying to go, wait. And I tried to go, wait, don't. And it was almost like 15 minutes I was waiting over there. And even one moment somebody would walk through, don't. So it was like, and I was thinking how much absorbed they were in watching that match. I was remembering the gopis, they said, if our eyes blink, then we can't see Krishna for one moment. So it's a distorted version of that. Oh, if you come in between, we can't see the cricket match for one moment. So if there is so much attraction, oh, I don't want to miss a single moment of the action over there. So when that attraction is so much, then there is absorption. So even if somebody comes in between, don't come in between. But as soon as they come also, okay, move aside, okay, let me keep seeing. So to the extent there is attraction, there will be absorption. Now, of course, absorption can come in one more way also. That is through concentration. That attraction means we'll naturally, almost effortlessly get absorbed. But suppose we have to study for an exam, and at that time, there is somebody speaks somewhere, keep quiet. But if they're not keeping quiet, somehow you'll concentrate. And say if the exam is just half an hour away and you're memorizing some formulas last moment, then it's completely absorbed. So absorption can come either by attraction, or it can come by, we could say, concentration, which comes from intention. In absorption, when there is attraction, there may not be an intention or intention, it just gets absorbed. But through conscious intention, we can also cultivate absorption. So in the process of bhakti, we want to develop this love of God. And love of God, here it is said that the pleasure of this is so great that all other pleasures become insignificant. Truna tulya. Truna is like a blade of grass. Tulya is like. So if we are meeting some very important person, and on the road nearby or on the floor nearby some blade of grass is lying on the ground, we won't even spare a glance for the blade of grass. Our all eyes will be on that person. What are they doing? Let me spend some time with them. Let me talk with them. So that when something is compared to a blade of grass, that means it is so insignificant as to not even be noticeable, not even to be noticeable. For us, in the conditioned stage, however, this doesn't seem to be like that. No, wealth, position, pleasure, worldly pleasure, they appear to be so much attractive. And in fact, for materialistic people, they even consider that spiritual joys, it's simply an imagination. It's not even the reality. In fact, there are some atheistic scholars, they say actually the so-called experience of spiritual ecstasy is not only an imagination, it's a neurosis. It's when a person breaks down emotionally. At that time, just as a person becomes schizophrenic, like that some people, these mystics, they become schizophrenic and they pursue some other reality. So now they have no understanding of what they're talking about or what they're missing. Why? Because they have not experienced it at all. They are simply from the point of critical scholarship looking. Why is this person such ecstasy? Must be mad. So Prabhupada gives the example that if somebody observes a bottle of ghee from outside, or even touches the bottle of ghee from outside, or even licks the bottle of ghee from not honey, ghee, sorry, honey, the bottle of honey from outside, they will not taste it at all. They will taste it only when they open the bottle of honey and drink it. So similarly, just observing from outside, the whole idea of uh, inexhaustible spiritual happiness can seem just like a fantasy. It can even seem like a neurosis. You must be mad because of which you're experiencing this. And it's interesting, actually, Chaitanya Charitamrita also uses the word mad. It says divyonmad or premonmad. Unmad means madness. So the madness of love for Krishna or the divine madness. So from the perspective of ordinary reality, the person who is experiencing spiritual happiness seems like mad. So we could say this is our physical reality that we experience, and this is spiritual reality. So right now, when we are sadhakas, we have some faith that there is spiritual reality, and occasionally we have some experience of it. But those who are simply at the physical level of reality, they have no experience of it. So they may feel this is just mad. What are you doing like this? But then people who are at the physical level of reality, they also go towards some other kind of madness. When people go towards, say, they go towards a fictional reality. A fictional reality, some people may take alcohol and drugs and imagine that they are in another world where they are kings. Or they may start watching entertainment. And in entertainment, what are they doing? Again, they're going from physical reality to some fictional reality. Now, if somebody, now suppose like a sports match is going on, and people are, "Hey, wonderful, oh no," they're going through all panorama of emotions while they're watching a cricket match or a sports match, and somebody else observes. What are they doing? What is, you're just sitting here and you're looking at some TV screen, some screen. Hey, what is this? Going through all these emotions. Oh, what is this? They could also appear like crazy, isn't it? So Srila Prabhupada gave a famous lecture where he said that, materialistic people say that spiritualists are mad. Spiritualists know that materialistic people are also having their own kind of mania. So basically, in the material world, there was a survey done where what are people's emotional states, especially in the developed world. They found that 5% of the time people are happy, 5% of the time people are unhappy, and 90% of the time people are bored. So because they're bored, so they want some break from the boredom. And the way they seek break is by one of the most common ways is by entertainment. So when they're looking for entertainment, at that time, as they get obsessed with the entertainment, it's like they go mad. Just go mad at that time. From the objective perspective, why are you involved in so much emotions? What is going on? So basically, to be mad is the nature of the soul. But what are we mad for? If you're not mad for Krishna, we'll become mad for something in this world. And actually, in a sense, it's only people who are mad that, in the material perspective, also achieve something wonderful. Suppose somebody is a scientist. They want to make some discovery. Then, okay. They're constantly lost in thinking, what about this? What about that? What about that? No, maybe this will work. Maybe that will work. So, in scientific circles, there is a anecdote about how one scientist was involved in making an invention. So he just told his scientist, we are now doing this, told his colleague, now we are doing this experiment. Now it will take about 2-3 hours to complete. In the meanwhile, let us go and we'll do some New Year purchasing. His friend looked at him, the colleague says, it's 4th of January today. Yes. So they say that this is how much science people can get absorbed in it. The New Year came and went and the scientists didn't even know New Year came and went. So, and this is considered, this is how you should be absorbed in science. They recommend it like that. So my point is that in material life also, when people achieve something wonderful, that is through absorption, which is like a mania. So now, with respect to this madness, there can be madness in transcendence, there can be madness in ignorance, there can be madness in passion, and there can be madness in goodness. So say, just smoking, drinking, while just obsessive entertainment, that is madness and ignorance. Madness and goodness could be just pursuing ideas. Okay, just like completely absorbed. I want to invent something. I want to develop something. Sometimes people get into art or music or creativity or writing. They just forget everything else. It's absorbed, lost in it. So that's madness and goodness, you could say. But sometimes some people have to work very hard. I want to achieve this. And just forget everything else in the pursuit of work or pursuit of pleasure. There's a story of Bilva Mangal Thakur, how he wanted to see a prostitute and he just forgot everything as a storm. He was not aware of that. He actually took a dead body and used that as a boat to cross over. And to climb into her house, he used a rope which actually turned out to be a snake. But he was mad after that. So that was the time when Chintamani told him, now if you had this kind of attraction for Krishna, you would be liberated. So actually, to be mad is the nature of the soul. And the soul is mad for Krishna, then there is perfection. But not knowing that, the soul finds something else to be mad about. And then they may pick up anything and everything, which is what they get obsessed about. Now, of course, sometimes in Tamoguna, when people are confused, but there are so many objects, they don't know which to be mad about. And that makes them confused also. That may cause depression, that may cause mental problems. But essentially, the soul longs to be mad. In a sense, if a truck is moving very fast, if there's a tree in between, to just ram the truck into the tree so that the tree is knocked over, it requires a certain amount of daredevilishness. But that comes when persons I have to get there and nothing will come in my way. So that's how, when there is a strong sense of purpose, that strong sense of purpose brings a kind of mania, brings a kind of madness. Which madness is really worth cultivating? So I was making the point that when we are practicing bhakti, at that time, we don't feel so inspired by Krishna as we may feel attracted or captivated by worldly things. So that in that context, I said there are these three modes of material nature, and there is transcendence. So in each particular mode, a particular object or a particular set of objects will appear overwhelmingly attractive. So for a person in the mode of passion, wealth is what they want. They want it at all costs. For a person in the mode of goodness, just, I want to understand this, I want to get this, I want to discover this, whatever it takes. So for us, when we are trying to practice bhakti, we are, although our goal is transcendental, we are still within the modes. And depending on where we are within the modes, we will be attracted to certain things. So we won't feel attracted to Krishna directly at this stage. We will be, if we are in the mode of ignorance, will be lost in our head. The mode of passion, I want to do some things. The mode of goodness, I want to understand this, I want to get this. That's how it will be. So the expertise of the path of bhakti is, wherever we are, it gives us an opportunity to connect our present mania with the ultimate mania. So Prabhupada said bhakti is so inclusive that somebody is an alcoholic and they can't give up alcohol. Then Srila Prabhupada writes in the book On the Way to Krishna that if they think that the taste of alcohol is Krishna, then in this way, by remembering Krishna, one day they will become a devotee of Krishna. He's not saying by drinking alcohol they'll become a devotee. No. But if they're not able to give up alcohol, they're drinking anyway. Okay, what is this? Where is this attractiveness of alcohol coming from? It's just a drink. It's that attractiveness is coming from Krishna. Krishna says, Rasoham apsu kaunteya. I am the taste of water. So the taste of water represents the taste of all liquids. So Krishna says that this is coming from him. And if we understand this point, then we can get attracted to Krishna thereby. So that way, even in ignorance, somebody might be drinking and they might be dancing around the street, just lost. And what happens? If they see a kirtan going on, they start dancing in the kirtan also. They connect with Krishna over there. The hippies love to do crazy things. They wanted to rebel against society. But then when Prabhupada started doing Harinam Sankirtan and Rath Yatra, that was crazier than what they could also imagine. Just dancing on streets. And earlier, if they danced on streets, the police would have come and arrested them. But now the police protected and guided them. Because it was a cultural festival from an ancient tradition. So, Prabhupada just accommodated their desire to do all kinds of crazy things and they loved it. So bhakti is, we want to develop the ultimate madness for Krishna. But how do we develop that? It's not that suddenly we wake up and one day I feel mad for Krishna. In the initial days of our bhakti, when we first come, we start understanding the philosophy, we start experiencing some taste. It's wonderful. I just want to give up everything else. I just want to surrender to Krishna. I want to just all the time, day and night, practice bhakti. We feel like that. But that feeling doesn't continue for very long. Because why? Initially, there is the newness and the freshness which attracts us. But bhakti is not just about the newness or freshness of the activities. Bhakti is about the connection with Krishna. And that connection takes time to develop. So initially we feel very attracted, and afterwards we feel, hey, I don't feel so attracted. It's not that we are no longer attracted, but it's the long journey that is starting. We have to redirect our heart from the world to Krishna. So during this process, where we are right now, and we have a certain attraction to certain things, and we want to be attracted to Krishna. So the expertise of bhakti is that bhakti is inclusive spirituality, not exclusive spirituality. Inclusive spirituality means bhakti doesn't say reject the world and go to Krishna. Bhakti says go through the world to Krishna. Don't look away from the world to Krishna, but look through the world beyond the world to Krishna. The world's things are attractive, but where does the attraction comes from? It comes from Krishna. So use the things of this world to serve Krishna. So bhakti is sensory spirituality. Sensory spirituality means the senses which are normally causes of bondage are used in bhakti to advance in the path of liberation. The eyes causes bondage when we get attracted by worldly objects. But those same eyes can take us towards liberation if we direct them towards Krishna. And in fact, so much so that whereas some spiritualists, such as the impersonalists, say that I just don't want to, I want to be silent. I want to take mauna vrata. Prayen in the maunam vrajanti, the Bhagavatam in the Prahlad's prayer says, maunam charanti, that the sages just take mauna vrata. I don't want to talk anything. I don't want to get entangled with the world. That's their idea. But for the devotees, they don't want to be silent. They would say that, oh, I want hundreds of mouths so that I can glorify Krishna. Rupa Goswami says, even if I have hundreds of mouths and thousands of years, Krishna's glories are so sweet that I can't relish them enough. So the devotees, wherever we are at, we use, from there we move towards Krishna. And that was Srila Prabhupada's expertise. Devotees in the first generation, in general, they were very energetic. They wanted to do something special. And Prabhupada just challenged and stimulated them. When in 1968, Prabhupada came back from India, first time he had gone because of sickness, and the devotees were a little apprehensive, what will happen, how will we continue on our spiritual life without Prabhupada? But somehow they continued on. And Prabhupada came back, and when he came back in the room, they had an atlas over there. And Prabhupada told all his young disciples, most of them were, some of them 18, 20, 22. He says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told us that his name should be spread all over the world. So all of you take one country. Go to that country and deliver that country. Now some of the devotees, one of the Matajis was there, she said, Prabhupada, what about us girls? He says, we are not boys or girls, we are souls. You also pick up one country. You also pick up one country. So basically, now devotees did that. They just went to distant countries and started preaching. Now, and one side it was mad. You just go to another country. There was one of Prabhupada's disciples. Once Prabhupada was in India and he was telling how Krishna consciousness spread all over the world. So then one person in India challenged, you're saying it's all over the world? Is the Krishna consciousness, is this Krishna Bhakti being practiced in Pakistan also? And then when challenged like this, Prabhupada said, we will do it in future. And one of Prabhupada's disciples took that as a challenge. And he went to Pakistan, and in Pakistan, he started doing public Harinam Sankirtan, dancing on the streets. And Pakistan has a love-hate relationship with America. They want the help of America, but they still don't want domination by America. And they have a strong hate relationship with India. And here was an American, American practicing the religion of India on the streets of Pakistan. It created a shock. People came and told, you cannot do this in Pakistan. He said, no, Krishna will protect. And it is just madness. But they did that. So Brahman Prabhu did that, and then eventually, somehow in one of the news came that a Hare Krishna devotee was killed. Actually, nothing happened, but the news came up somehow. So then Prabhupada was very, very concerned. And then Brahman Prabhu came back to Pakistan, and Prabhupada was so happy with him. He said, you risk your life for glorifying Krishna. So at that time, it is almost like madness. So now, so for us, so the point I'm making is, Prabhupada was expert in channeling people's passion to get them to move towards Krishna. And they would do book distribution. It was just hundreds and hundreds of books they would distribute. How they were distributing? So, one devotee was telling me that when he was distributing books, he said a person approached him and he said, I am the marketing in charge of a big company. He says, we have marketing people. I have not seen anyone distributing any product like this. So if you decide to leave this Hare Krishna, come to me, I'll give you a job. So it was, in a sense, maddening. Now, of course, so I'll make 2 points from this whole analysis, with which I'll conclude. First is that where we are, what we are attracted to, it is the expertise of bhakti and of the spiritual master, that from there we are attracted towards Krishna. We don't have Arjuna was an archer and he loved archery, but bhakti was that use your archery in Krishna's service. Some people love to decorate. Oh, you decorate the deities, you decorate the temple. So whatever is our current attraction, we connect that current attraction with spiritual attraction, with attraction to Krishna. And by that, now how to do that, where that will require some intelligence, that will require some creativity. I was at a devotees house in America, and this couple, they were telling me that they were they're nice, serious devotees, and they said their son was very creative. He's into robotics. Just a small boy, 8-10 years old, but he has won national awards in robotics, participated in national level competitions. And he said that he is completely absorbed in this. And then they say, but he's no interest in spiritual life. So what can we do? Then I asked him, what do you do in robotics? I was talking with him. He says, we make robots which can do work. In Amazon, they have these robots which go and pack the bags, pack the packages, and carry the packages and put them in the trucks. So we try to make more efficient robots which can lift up things, detect things. So then I told him that, how do you get your ideas for making robots for future competitions? He said, I just scour around. Then I suggested to him, you can make a robot of Krishna and Arjuna speaking the Bhagavad-gita. He said, no. First he said. Then he said, he thought about it. He said, actually, that will be a unique idea. Nobody else will do that. And then he started thinking about it. He said, okay, let me see. Then his parents told me recently that, now he has read the full Bhagavad-gita to understand how to depict it. So, what happens is people have certain creativity, certain interest. We might just dismiss it mundane, but we don't have to dismiss it as mundane. You can see how that can be connected with Krishna, and if that can be connected with Krishna, then from what they are mad at, they can become mad for Krishna. It's one aspect of bhakti is we have to give up the madness for the world and become mad for Krishna. And there are some activities in the world which cannot be doubted. As I said, somebody is attracted to anti-devotional activities, they may have to give up those. But we could say that everything material is not necessarily anti-devotional. In the material, some could be anti-devotional, some could be non-devotional, some could be pro-devotional. And that way, we can all connect our current mania with the spiritual mania. So right now, it is not easy to feel, the happiness of bhakti is far, far greater than the happiness of this world. Because for us, this world is real and our consciousness is at that level. So we'll be attracted to things of this world. So therefore, we need to keep hearing regularly. So the nature of the mind is it distorts our values. If I'm working on a computer, I'm doing some important project work, some important article I'm writing, but some notice pops up. Okay, somebody posted on Facebook somebody has posted something on Facebook, some mail has come out, something there. And what happens? The mind says, this is new, let me read it. So the mind just goes by newness. Mind doesn't go by importance. Whatever is new, it must be stimulating. This what I am doing right now is more important. So, but the mind doesn't consider it that way. So basically, the point I'm making is the mind's evaluation is not always based on facts, on reality. The work which I'm doing is much more important, but the mind says, come on, do this. So how do we make sure that we don't get carried away at that time? To remind us, okay, this is much more important. That can be done later also. So right now, the higher taste doesn't seem higher always to us, and the lower taste doesn't seem always lower to us. In fact, the lower taste many times seems higher than the higher taste. There's so much pleasure here, bhakti. Yeah, it's there, but maybe yes, Krishna is good, but Maya is also not bad. It's how we feel at present. So then what do? We have to hear regularly. Throughout this whole metaphor, the driving metaphor of the Bhaktilata Bejas, hearing is the jal, is the water for nourishing the Bhaktilata Bij. The more we keep hearing about Krishna, Leela and Krishna Tattva, the more we will understand what is truly important. So the worldly Purushartha, Dharmartha, Kama, Moksha, they will appear very attractive. But when we hear, then we will understand with philosophy. Actually, this is not that important. That is really important. And that's how we'll become convinced. सिद्धांत बलिया चित्ते ना करे आलस इहा है ते कृष्ण लागे सुदृढ़ मानस. That when we are determined to serve Krishna, how will we get the determination? Siddhanta baliya. When we study the philosophy and understand the philosophy will give us conviction. This is the reality, and this is all not that important. And if we become lazy in studying the philosophy, Siddhanta baliya chitte na kare alas. Some people say, oh, I just want rasa. I just want to hear about Leela. I want to hear about pastime. I want some bhakti rasa. That's good. We want the bhakti rasa. And we should strive for it also. But if you're lazy about the philosophy, today we'll be attracted to worldly things. Today we'll be attracted to Krishna. We're dancing and singing kirtans about Krishna. But tomorrow we'll get attracted to worldly things. In India nowadays, there are a lot of religious channels with religious entertainment. Some people may be watching the Ramayana, and when they see, oh, Jatayu was killed, they may cry tears. And then the Ramayana program gets over, they change the channel, and they watch a cricket match. And say some India's top cricketer gets out. And they start crying there also. So for them, this is one form of entertainment, that is another form of entertainment. So that is, if the philosophy is not there, then our mind will not be fixed on Krishna clearly, steadily. So we study the philosophy and we hear the pastimes. And both this kind of hearing, so studying the philosophy gives us conviction that Krishna is for real, attractiveness to Krishna is for real. And hearing the pastimes, hearing about Krishna directly gives us the experience of how wonderful it is to taste Krishna, to relish Krishna. And in this way, our attraction from where it is will be directed towards Krishna. So we need to find, as I said, some Uddipan. Ujjwal and Nulamani is the book which is an advanced book written by Rupa Goswami, which takes forward from where he is describing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And there he uses the word Uddipan. Uddipan is spiritual stimulus, or you can say spiritual sense object. That means, just as when we see a sense object, our emotions, consciousness immediately get captivated by that. So we all can have spiritual sense objects by which our consciousness gets captivated. So each of us can find what is the Uddipan for us. For some of us, it may be the deities. For some of us, it may be a spiritual master. Some of us, it may be hearing classes. For some of us, it may be reciting verses. For some of us, it may be kirtans. And when this Uddipan, the Uddipan is that stimulus which attracts our consciousness towards Krishna. And because each one of us is individual, we have to find out what is the Uddipan that works best for us. And then we channel that Uddipan in Krishna's service. And this Uddipan will vary from person to person, this spiritual stimulus. When I take darshan of the deities, I usually recite some verses. When I recite the verses, then this thought start moving. Oh, this is the Lord who is here. This is the Lord I'm praying to. And then the description of the verse, description of the Lord in the verse, brings the connection with the depiction of the Lord in front of me. So I told once in a class, we can recite verses when we take darshan of the deities. A couple of days later, a devotee came and told me, said, no, I tried to recite verses, but when I go in front of the deities, to try to remember these verses, it causes me so much tension that whatever bhakti I have, that goes away. So then I told him that, yes, for some people, in the visual aspect may be more important than the verbal aspect. So if you feel devotional connection just by looking at the deities, then you can just pray over there. You don't need to memorize verses. We have to see what works best for us. So the Uddipan for one person may be different from the Uddipan for another person. But when we find our Uddipan, our spiritual stimulus, then that will help us push our consciousness towards Krishna. So the river is the process of bhakti. That's like the river bed. But our consciousness is like the water that has to flow through it. So bhakti provides us the broad structure, but it is for each one of us to make sure that our consciousness flows towards Krishna. And as our consciousness flows more and more towards Krishna, then we will start relishing the beauty of Krishna. We'll start relishing the higher joy. And then we'll start experiencing all this worldly pleasure. It is not worth getting distracted from Krishna from. It is nothing as compared to Krishna. When we get that conviction, then our inner struggle will go down substantially. When currently our mind is agitated, I want this, I want that, I want that. But when the mind starts realizing, oh, all that is not that important, this is what is most important. When the mind becomes peaceful, we will become joyful. Our bhakti will become joyful at that time. This consciousness will just flow towards Krishna, and that's how we'll joyfully advance towards life's supreme perfection. So I'll summarize. I spoke today on the theme of nourishing the Bhakti-Lata beach, in which I talked about channeling our consciousness towards Krishna. And in this verse, it is stated that the pleasure of dharma, artha, kama, moksha is nothing as compared to the pleasure of love for Krishna. So I started by talking about purush artha. Artha is that is meaning, value, or purpose. So each of us has something that gives meaning, value, purpose to our life. And everybody has problems, but their purpose gives them the momentum to overcome the problems. Just like a truck moving fast has the momentum to push aside obstacles in its way. In the material world, people's purushartha centers on dharma, religiosity, reputation, artha, financial prosperity and comforts, and security. And then kama is pleasure and comfort, sensual pleasures and comfort. And moksha is freedom from misery, freedom from entanglement. And specifically, they may have different things within these by which they get artha kama. But these are the broad purusharthas. And when we have a particular purpose, that makes us like mad to achieve that purpose. So the devotees are mad for Krishna, and materialistic people are also mad. People in goodness are mad in a particular way, mad about ideas. People in ignorance are mad about illusion. Watch this movie, do this, do that. People in passion are mad about achieving certain things. I want to get this position. I want to get this person. I want to enjoy this. So everybody in this world is mad in some way or the other. Nature of the soul is to be mad, but there is healthy madness and there is unhealthy madness. So the expertise of bhakti is that whatever we are currently mad for, we can channel that and direct it towards Krishna. So how do we do that? That is the inclusiveness of bhakti, and that is the expertise of the spiritual master who guides us to do that. And along with, so there is the thing which you are mad for. Somebody may be mad for writing, somebody may be mad for work, somebody mad for traveling, somebody may be mad for sightseeing. So the expert devotee finds out a way in which these can be used in Krishna's service. So then that is with respect to our engagement with the world, how we channel it for bhakti, channel it towards Krishna through bhakti. And there is also the direct process of bhakti, which also we need to practice. We can't simply do the worldly activities and our attraction to Krishna will not develop. Our attraction is what brings absorption. But when the attraction is not there, then conscious intention can also bring absorption. It's like somebody loves a book and that's why they're reading it, or somebody reading it absorbed because they have to study and give an exam. So for us, that attraction will be to particular things at present. But when that attraction is not there, we have to have this conscious intention. That comes by hearing. Hearing the philosophy gives us the conviction that Krishna is the supreme reality, and hearing the pastimes gives us the understanding of how, gives a glimpse, a taste of how Krishna is the supreme reality. And though the higher taste may not seem higher to us, we understand that's because I'm right now in the modes, and the modes condition my perception. So there is a reality which is unconditioned, and we try to move towards that. And so we move towards that in three ways. One is by channeling our present madness towards Krishna. Second is by hearing, so that we are convinced about what is truly worth being mad about. And thirdly, by finding out our uddipan, the specific things that trigger our spiritual emotions towards Krishna. When we get the water of our consciousness to flow along the channel of bhakti, thus towards Krishna, then as we become purer, as we start tasting the sweetness of Krishna, the worldly things will stop seeming so attractive. And as the mind starts becoming less agitated by the worldly things, then as the mind becomes peaceful, our devotion will become more and more joyful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So, are there any questions or comments? Yes, bro.
Thank you very much, Chaitanya Charan, for your class. Thank you very much. You were speaking about bhakti-yoga, attraction to Krishna. Traditionally, there was karma yoga, jnana yoga, asanga yoga traditionally. So I was just thinking, they obviously don't know about Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you for the class. Traditionally, there was karma yoga, jnana yoga, asanga yoga, leading to bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is when we think about Krishna, when we feel about Krishna. I was just thinking, traditionally, what does the karma yogi, the jnana yogi, asanga yoga, what do they feel? What are their feelings? What are their thoughts? Because I mean, who are they? They're active, but
okay, I got your question.
Yeah, thank you.
So, what is the object of attraction for the karma yogis, the jnana yogis? Traditionally, generally, the various yogas are defined by two things: the kind of action that is done and the kind of conception that is there for people. So, in karma yoga, it's a yoga of action, but there's also a particular conception. Gyan yoga is also like that. The action may not be there; it's more contemplation. So generally speaking, in these yogas, the word yoga itself indicates that there is a connection with some higher reality. There's at least an attempt for connection with the higher reality. Now, what that higher reality is, usually that understanding is not so clear. ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन padmapatramivambhasa. In the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says that brahmanyadhaya karmani, that offer the work to Brahman. Now, what is that Brahman? That different transcendentalists will have different conceptions. So generally, the first step in spiritual realization usually is the idea of oneness, the non-differentiated oneness. Why is that? Because in this world, if a person is a little perceptive, they start understanding that actually I'm getting entangled. Oh, and what is it that is entangling me? Say it is the forms, the qualities, the attributes. So basically, their equation is that form leads to entanglement. Form leads to attraction, leads to entanglement. Therefore, if I don't want to be entangled, okay, what is it that's causing me entanglement? Form. So let me go beyond the forms. They see the forms here are temporary. And when I get entangled, I get distress. So I want to go beyond this. Therefore, they conceive of the spiritual reality as a non-differentiated oneness. There's no form, no qualities. So then the things that entangle me over here, they're no longer present. That's how I'll be disentangled. So generally, for most people in the Vedic tradition or in the outside tradition, in the broad world traditions, when they start practicing spirituality, they start exploring life's higher dimension. Their first conception is some kind of oneness. So, now, is that oneness attractive? From the bhakti point of view, it's not so attractive. But there is, from the intellect, there is emotional and intellectual. So, from the intellectual point of view, the idea of oneness is quite attractive. When science, what does it do? It looks at the diverse phenomena in the world, and after looking at those diverse phenomena, it tries to make sense of it. So, for example, why does the apple fall over here? Why do the planets move like that? Oh, there is one principle. There's a law of gravity. So basically, when we try to advance in knowledge, there's a bewildering diversity of phenomena in the world around us. From that diversity, we try to look for some unity. Okay, why does this person behave like this? Oh, he's a teenager. Teenagers always are a little restless. So we try to contextualize things. We try to bring some harmony or order within the diversity. Otherwise, the diversity will be maddening. We talk about diversity and people want to celebrate diversity. That's good. But the diversity also has to be categorized. Otherwise, every new person we meet and that is completely different from everyone else we have met. We don't know how to deal with them, what to do with them. So we try to put them in categories. Suppose we need a new person and they're talking a different language. And oh, they're talking in this, they don't know this language. Okay, we'll find out to find a translator. Let's talk with them. So my point is that trying to look for oneness, trying to look for unity, trying to make sense of diversity by looking at some order behind it, that is just a natural human inclination. And that when it is directed towards the spiritual realm, most people come up with the idea of oneness. Now it requires scripture to understand what is there beyond that oneness or where that oneness is coming from. We can get a vague sense that that oneness will not just be non-differentiated, because here there is differentiation. So where did this differentiation come from? So then Jiva Goswami says that if you consider, there are three aspects of the absolute truth: Sat, Chit, Ananda. So he says when we realize only the Sat aspect of the absolute, that is Brahman. That means he says Brahman is the absolute truth without any potencies. Just existence, just consciousness, non-differentiated consciousness which exists everywhere. Paramatma is the conception of the absolute truth with material potencies. That means there is not just non-differentiated oneness beyond this world, but that is the higher being who is also monitoring this world, who is also overseeing this world. That means that absolute being has material potencies to control this world. But then he says, we understand that absolute truth also has his self-existence. He has his own life and he has his loved ones. So that's when we understand the absolute truth's spiritual potencies. That's the understanding of Bhagavan. So normally most transcendentalists begin with the idea of Brahman, where just the absolute truth and non-differentiated consciousness. Then they may progress toward the idea of Paramatma, absolute truth with material potencies. And then they progress towards Bhagavan, where they understand absolute truth as not just material, but also spiritual potencies. That is the Bhagavan understanding. Okay? Yes. Any other questions?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu, for the inspiring class. I was wondering, you mentioned about the importance of channeling a present madness toward Krishna. Does this hold true for brahmachari also? Or rather, shall we aim to transcend our mania, our madness? Maya, you should get that up.
Okay. So can brahmacharis channel their present passion in Krishna's service? So is playing music Maya? See, generally, in the early stages of growth, education is always given in terms of black and white. This is black, this is white. But then as we move forwards, we learn that reality is not just black and white. There are shades of gray also. So in school, initially we are told, well, 3 minus 5 is not possible. But afterwards we told 3 minus 5 is possible. So similarly, in the early stages of our movement, we were basically very much of a cult, not the cult in the negative sense of the word. Cult means we're very disconnected from the world. To become a devotee means leave the world and move into the temple and live there. So any form of engagement with the world would mean interacting with the world more than necessary, and that could lead to entanglement and losing of one's Krishna bhakti. But now we are no longer a temple-based movement. We are a congregation movement. In fact, now our movement is moving towards the way bhakti culture was traditionally in India. It is not in the past also. It's not that everybody was in the renounced order. Everybody was living in the temple. People's lives were centered on the temple, but people had their own lives also. That's how it was traditionally practiced. So now when we are living in the world, there is more of an engagement with the world. So we could say one way of practicing bhakti is segregation from the world. Just distance yourself, separation from the world, where we have our farm communities, and just don't use anything material. Just focus on Krishna. And Prabhupada also wanted temples in the cities, heart of the cities. And that was, we could say, the other aspect of bhakti is penetration. We penetrate into the mainstream society. And there we practice bhakti. And there we infuse bhakti into people from the inside. So more and more our movement is moving towards the penetration of bhakti subtly. So when Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that I long for the day when high court judges will be wearing tilaks. Now what does it mean? One way it could happen is that devotees form the government and devotees are judges. That's possible, but a more likely way would be that devotees are so competent judges that even in non-devotee governments, they see this person so competent, let them appoint my judges. And their devotion is not seen as a disqualification. They don't have to conceal their devotion because devotees are so respected. So how will devotees be respected? When they are good at their field. The world may respect our devotion, but the world is going to function and the world is going to respect those who function well in the world. So if a devotee is a very good teacher, many devotees nowadays get into teaching. I know several devotees in India who have won national awards, president's award, and then other people come and learn from them. And then through the prestige that they get, they also talk about Krishna. So certainly, what is Maya and what is Krishna is something which has to be differentiated. But rather than thinking of the differentiation in terms of black and white, we have to see what is favorable for us. So for somebody who has no interest in music, they try to develop a lot of music, interest in music, and they start hearing this music, that music, and they get captivated by Maya. But somebody already has an interest in music, and they have anyway heard a lot of music. So if music alone had been captivating them, they would not have come to Krishna only now. They would have stayed with music. They come to Krishna means they also know there's something more to life. Then the attraction to music that they have, then when they're hearing music, they're not simply hearing music. Think, okay, how can I use this music in Krishna's service? And then they'll be able to use it. So each of us, when we are trying to use anything worldly in Krishna's service, we have to see what is the effect on us. Is it that is causing our consciousness to become dominated by that worldly thing, or increasingly attracted to that worldly thing? Or is it that we are able to channel through that towards Krishna? So our consciousness is already there and we use it for Krishna. Suppose now for us we say sports can distract us from spiritual life. But somebody is already a sports star. Will we tell them that give up your sports and then practice bhakti? Not necessarily. They're already into sport. They'll be in sport. They can practice bhakti as sports players. So rather than making a universal statement, this is Krishna and this is Maya, there are certain things, of course, which are directly devotional and some things which are directly anti-devotional. But the broad spectrum, each person will have to see the effect of it on the consciousness. And so for somebody, say, who is in the stocks business, that is their business and they think about it anyway. And thinking about them is not going to captivate them. But if somebody else gets into stocks thinking, oh, I'll make more money, and chanting Hare Krishna, they think, oh, this stock has gone up, this stock has gone down, then that's Maya for them. So Maya is not black and white. Maya is also, there are shades of gray within it. Okay. So each of us can find out the effect and then decide whether it takes us towards Krishna or away from Krishna. Thank you. Last question, Mataji. Yeah.
There are different stages in bhakti.
Yeah.
How to elevate ourselves from the unsteady devotional service to become steady? Can we see that it is a long process?
Yes. So how can we move from unsteady devotional service to steady devotional service? If we see, there is Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, and then Nishtha. These are stages of bhakti. So if Prabhupada translates Shraddha, which is the first stage, as simply favorable curiosity. What are these people doing? I want to know about it. And from there, it is through the association of devotees, through the practice of bhakti, and especially through anartha nivritti. So when the anarthas are what make our bhakti unsteady. So when we go beyond that, when we come to nishtha, that is where the stage bhakti has become steady. Now, anartha nivritti does take a long time for most of us. And during this long journey, it is best that we find something which sustains us along the way. That means that this is the material tastes, is the worldly taste that I have. This is the devotional taste. We want to go from the worldly taste to the devotional taste. But this is a long journey. And to sustain that journey, how do we make ourselves steady? We have to find out something which gives us taste as we are moving forward. That's why I said that if we have some material passion, if this is the circle of bhakti and this is the circle of what I like to do, what are my current interests, and I find the intersection of them. And then doing that is something which is relatively easy for me. Because anyway, I like to do it. And while doing that, initially the taste might be material, but because I'm doing it for Krishna, the taste starts becoming spiritual. So basically, when we try to practice bhakti, there are of course certain activities which we have to do as a part of our sadhana, but we have to find out something which we feel personally connected to, and by which we feel connected to Krishna. And we make a commitment to doing that. So become steady at least in one thing. And from that steadiness in one thing, as the connection with Krishna develops, from that connection, we get satisfaction. From that connection, we get purification. And from that connection, steadiness will gradually emerge. So for us, the operating principle, we could say, is what Rupa Goswami gives, Yena kena prakarena manha Krishna niveshayat. Somehow or the other, fix the mind in Krishna. So find out, somehow or the other means, find out what works for us. What is the way in which I can fix the mind in Krishna? And if I do that, from there, I'll move forwards in my life. So thank you very much. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Itai Gaur Premanande.
Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki jai.